Hey, what is up, YouTube boxing family? It is K-Rod here. I'm back with another good video for y'all today. I wanted to talk about the situation at hand with well, obviously not Floyd Mayweather and Tank Davis. I'll probably talk about that in another video, and then I'll get to Franchon soon. But let's talk about Keyshawn Davis. A lot of people have been talking about him for quite the longest. And I figured, you know what? Let me just help him out. Because I think, like, the thing about Keyshawn Davis is that um, he's a good fighter. But the problem with him is that I'm not too sure what the progression is going to be out of him. Um, I like to say he's a very good, hopeful future world champion. And the thing is that a lot of people think that he needs to be moved fast, which I'm not against it, but I think based off of the matchmaking he's been being fed with through Top Rank, I would hope that, aside from all politics, all the biggest fights for him can be made on Top Rank if he's able to get those fights for the time being. And I think the biggest issue with Keyshawn Davis is just the skill level. Um, I think he's a tremendous fighter. And the problem that I have is just simply the level of competition. Um, I think the issue is that Keyshawn, he has a good, ring IQ for being, such a young fighter. And I think, that the issue is for Keyshawn is that he has so much growth as a fighter of what things can be for his career. And the problem that I really have just simply from his skill set is that if he's going to be able to be made for the high level, it's obviously just at the level of competition that needs to be fed to. And I think he can very well dominate at the high level. And I think based off of how he's progressing, he should be okay. For those of you that don't know, he will now be the co-main event. He is the co-main event for the Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez undercard, in which I will be at that. Well, I won't be at this fight, but I will be at Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor at that fight. So, I think that this fight is going to speak a lot of volumes. His opponent, on the other hand, I'm not too sure who this kid is. He's 23 years old, Esteban Sanchez. I've been trying to get some film out of him to study his game, but I haven't really seen anything out of this guy. He seems to be like that, that type of that type of dude where I think he can be a good fighter, but the problem with this guy is that he doesn't have that much knockout power. He does possess a decent record. I mean, he's not beating any quote unquote, certifieds. His most how should I say? I mean, every single one of these opponents don't really scale well onto his resume, but I guess from what I can say, just based off of who he's been fighting, it seems like most of his fights have probably been staged or been arranged out in Mexico. So I'm not really too sure how this guy's gonna scale for Keyshawn. He seems to be this type of dude where he has a pretty good base for his skill set, and I mean, even though he is like a Mexican-born individual, I think he is a pretty decent fighter, and I say this is like a good little co-main event showcase to show, the level of skill and talent from Keyshawn Davis. I mean, this is a decent opponent. His only loss was coming by the hands of Luis Montano Alvarez. He doesn't fight no more, but he was a decent fighter from what I heard back in the day. But I think Keyshawn, he should get the job done. I think that whenever you do have a good Black American versus Mexican, Mexican boxing battle that is a good stylistic matchup to show the levels of competition between American and Mexican talent. But I think Keyshawn, he's not going to fail to impress. He's coming to basically knock this guy out and to showcase his level of a skill set. Aside from Shakur and Oscar Valdez, I already have like my thoughts on that fight. I think Shakur tears Oscar Valdez apart and destroys him, but it's not going to be an easy fight. It's probably going to be the toughest fight out of Shakur's career, honestly, because Oscar Valdez, he's going to come with any sort of cheating or whatever, political protectionism that could fall into his hands. So, I'm hoping, Oscar Valdez, he doesn't come in trying to cheat, Shakur, but don't be surprised if he tries to use any dirty tactics, in the ring because he knows that he can't outbox him. So, I think what he's gonna do to Shakur is that he's gonna try to make this a very dirty fight, and I think Shakur just needs to just beat the living crap out of him, just pull off like a Tito Trinidad on him, honestly. But I think Shakur, he should be fine. I give him nothing but credit of what he has to do, and I think he'll be on the good track to win this fight, and he should easily unify 130 and do the same thing at 135, and then move forward to 130 or move forward to 140 and 147. So I think the scaling level of Shakur's skill set and resume potential is just way higher than for what most people have to say. So, but yeah, as far as Keyshawn Davis goes, I guess for what I can say is that he has really good ring generalship for such a young fighter, because not a lot of young fighters could actually do that type of boxing ability, and I think for what he possesses in the ring, he's just really good with like how he controls, let the fight and shit, and he makes himself look a lot more um he makes himself look a lot more susceptible, to be just one step ahead of you, and that's what I like out of him. I think Keyshawn Davis is definitely worth the hype, and I think everything that he is gonna show come April 30th is going to really speak a lot of volumes. Because, the only issue that I have out of this equation is that Keyshawn Davis, he has a really good skill set, and I think, we're only basing that based off of, the opponents he's been fed with, but I guess, if you want to play fantasy matchups, how would Keyshawn Davis scale against let's just say like a Jorge Linares or a Vasil Lomachenko or anybody out of the top 25 in the lightweight division. And I could definitely say that he could have such a good fight with guys like Michelle Rivera. I think guys like Joseph Adorno would be a very difficult matchup, but I think if Keyshawn's able to just keep those power shots away from him, then I think Keyshawn should definitely do the same thing what Michelle did to him to get a decision. But I don't really think that's guaranteed, because Joseph Adorno is a good boxer himself. It's just that he hasn't found that out within his skill set, and I think Keyshawn, he is good for what he could do as a pure boxer, but come with pressure, he needs to work a little bit more on his inside game, and I think he'll be fine. I mean, he is a developing fighter at 23 years old, so he does have great development and high ceiling for what he can do for boxing. But I guess as far as wrapping this video up, I think Keyshawn is definitely worth the hype. even though that we're not really seeing what we're wanting to see out of him now, I think in due time he will show to the world why he is who he is. And I think top rank definitely needs to move him fast, because eventually, like once he gets to his like late prime years, like 27, well, I wouldn't say 27. I would say peak end of your prime is at like 29, and then you're heading into your 30s. That's when things start to wind down, because boxing is not like basketball and football where you could be up inside like the league playing till like you're in like your 40s and shit. But it's like, for fucking, other sports, like basically boxing is, like the only sport, probably next to wrestling, in the world that you can't play boxing to a level of which you can be boxing till you're in, like your 50s. That's just not going to happen, especially, if you're not like Floyd Mayweather and you're not able to be defensively responsible in your fights. Then that's really where the, like where the measuring stick, comes in to show that boxing is a very deadly sport, and there's just too much, how should I say, there's too much risk for, older fighters trying to last inside of the sport. And it's like, if you're not able to handle that, then, that's really where the sport, itself, basically, tells you as a individual that, you need to hang it up. So, I think based off of Keyshawn's, scaling, I think his abilities are going to bring him far. And I think he's just, getting started. And I think, he's going to dominate this guy in, highly, regarded fashion. And, yeah. Hopefully we could see him be elevated a lot higher to see where his, levels are. Because people want to make these excuses for black fighters to say that they shouldn't be moved fast in their careers. But, let that be some white fighter or some other, racially, politically protected fighter. They usually try to say, oh, well, those fighters can be moved fast because take a look at their take a look at their, their credentials and blah blah blah. And to me, I find that to be absolutely bullshit, and it's mentally retarded, backwards logic, to the point where you're just basically protecting fighters away from other certain fighters because you don't want your favorite fighter to get beat up by somebody that is just as talented as them to be moved just as fast as them. So, I mean, that's why guys like Lomachenko, had to go through the process, the hard way. But having to hold all that hype behind them didn't really live up to the highest expectation, because Top Rank basically knew, okay, well, if Lomachenko lost to Orlando Salido, then how can we really say that, he's the best in the world? And then he barely wins, against Gary Russell, in which Gary Russell, he came into that fight weight trained. So, I mean, Lomachenko doesn't really have too much to really say other than like, okay, I beat some good guys in my division, but I avoided the best competition for the best money available for your division. So, I mean, to a pound for pound type of skill level, I think compare that to Keyshawn Davis. He's going to be that guy where he's going to dominate a lot of people. And I think eventually he'll do what he has to do. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about Keyshawn Davis. Do you think he's made for the high level, or do you think he's all hype? You don't think he's that good? Yeah, so I'll see you guys later. Appreciate you guys, and peace out. Bye.